Hello and welcome to GamingBolt, and today we're going to be talking about EA's press conference. Now, I've been following the video game industry for a very long time now, long enough that I don't even remember how long it's been anymore. In that time, I've seen some great press shows and conferences, and some very bad ones, but I've never seen anything that's been as historically and disastrously bad as EA's press show today was. This isn't even hyperbole. EA Play 2018 today was probably, without a doubt, objectively, the worst it is possible for a press conference to be. It was a disaster of pacing with no energy and excitement. EA literally had nothing to show, and the announcers and presenters seemed like they were deer caught in the headlights. I'm going to start with the main, most obviously bad thing about the show, the almost complete lack of gameplay footage. There is a certain hilarity to how EA's conference was structured. The Battlefield guys are brought up, they talk about the game, say they will have more to say/show later, and then on to the next game, which was FIFA, where, yep, same thing. Lots of talking, no real footage, okay. Star Wars Battlefront 2? Same. Madden? Yep. NBA Live? Ditto. Respawn's big announcement. Literally, Vince Zampella sitting in the audience, looking desperately like he wanted to be anywhere but there, mumbling out the name of the game, and that's it. We couldn't even get a stinking logo. The entire show was an embarrassment. EA literally has nothing to show for this. The fact that most of the show is just people awkwardly talking about games without footage, or in a lot of cases even trailers, made other things stand out even more. There was a complete lack of preparation. One of the few times we were shown gameplay footage, it seemed like the demo was not set up, and we had to wait a bit before we could jump into the gameplay. It wasn't cool, no part of it was cool, it was so uncool it even made a goddamn Star Wars game reveal boring. It was so uncool that Anthem, the game that apparently EA and BioWare are hinging all their hopes on when it launches next year, had a segment with developers awkwardly talking about literally, absolutely nothing for 10 minutes, with concept art awkwardly being shown on the screen behind them. Not even gameplay, mind you, concept art. For 10 minutes, before someone finally remembered to show us gameplay footage. And let's talk about that gameplay footage, shall we? About the trailer we got for Anthem, and about Anthem in general. First, the good things. The game looks absolutely gorgeous. It does. And EA and BioWare had the decency to show actual gameplay for the game for once, if a bit spliced across all the players in the party's perspective. EA also confirmed that the game will have microtransactions, but only for cosmetics, and there will be no loot boxes. That's good too. You have to imagine Battlefront 2 has them shook. Okay, that was the good stuff. Now let's get to the bad. Based on the showing we have, things here aren't looking so good. The game seems to be really unremarkable. There are traces of Destiny here, the mission they showed us seems to be almost identically structured to Destiny's, and the Storm class seems to be uncomfortably similar to Destiny's Warlock, with some of Monster Hunter thrown in as well, a single-player hub for between missions, as well as the environments and wildlife interactions. No part of this instantly makes you sit up and take notice or make you feel like this is a game that is necessary for you to get. It doesn't look bad, it just doesn't look like it's anything special. Now, to be clear, this is once again based on only what they've shown us. There's every possibility that the final game isn't like this, but we haven't seen the final game, we've seen what they've shown us, and logic dictates that they've shown us what they felt to be the best representation of the title overall. Even if it wasn't, this Anthem segment doesn't fill me with any sort of optimism for the future of this game, or indeed BioWare. I can only hope the final game is less unremarkable. I also can't help that 3 years ago, this is a game that might have had a place when Destiny was at the peak of its popularity, and it might have found a market as a competitor. But the market itself has moved on from Destiny-styled games to variants of it that are more specialized now, owing to the general and persistent failure of Destiny to repeatedly deliver. Even Destiny 2 itself is struggling. A game that's just like it isn't going to do much. Unless there is a unique spin on the formula, like with Ubisoft's The Division, I'm not even sure how much of a market there is for this game. BioWare also promised that the game can be played entirely single player, and that it has the kind of storytelling and world building that BioWare fans are used to, which theoretically is the kind of differentiation I'm talking about. But how much of that has been diluted and made to fit around the mission-based loot grind structure of Destiny? How many old school BioWare fans will be interested in playing through a Destiny-like, except single player? BioWare has confirmed in a post-conference interview that the game doesn't have AI party members or romances and that the dialogue tree is simplified. Does this sound like the kind of RPG experience that BioWare fans are used to? The audience response to Anthem was a muted cheer, which maybe was because of the exhaustion from an hour of people talking and very little gameplay footage, but also because of just how standard Anthem looks. We will see how Anthem progresses in the coming months, but my current impressions are not positive. Incredibly enough, in spite of Anthem being the centerpiece of the show, that was not what EA spent the most time on during its conference. No, that honor goes to, and stay with me for this one, a mobile game. I'm serious. Not even a good mobile game, well, good is relative in this case, but EA spent over 10 minutes on a game called Command & Conquer Rivals, which, yes, the horror has now set in. They took the beloved franchise, the progenitor of the RTS genre, and turned it into a mobile game. And that's what they showed us a lot of, including for some perverse reason a real-time live multiplayer match between two players, complete with esports style commentary on stage. There's a lot to unpack here. EA spent the most time on a mobile game. EA has turned Command & Conquer into a mobile game. EA actually showed off a real-time live multiplayer match for a mobile game on their stage with professional casting. I don't even know where to begin with all that. It was embarrassing. It was the clearest sign yet of EA's utter disconnect with the market, the evidence that was needed to demonstrate that this is a show being put on for investors, not customers. And we had plenty of other evidence pointing at that too, such as when EA's Andrew Wilson strutted on stage to look inexplicably smug as he talked about a future EA streaming service, as well as a new tier of Origin access for PC, beaming as he talked about the joy of subscriptions, which is an actual quote, you can go look it up. In a nutshell, that emblemizes what this show was, a soulless husk of a presentation for investors, who are the only entities that EA is concerned with serving anymore. But there was only one part of the show that was actually really nice, and I do want to make note of that here. You know the part I'm talking about, the EA Originals. They showed off Unravel 2, which looks absolutely adorable, and even more compelling than the original game, complete with a live stage demo and a trailer. This is how you do things. And the developer breaking down into tears with pride as he talked about his game, which, by the way, is out now. Seriously. We also saw Sea of Solitude, and EA brought out its developer to talk about it as well. And while she was nervous at first, her passion broke through, and the fact that the game looks great as well, and that we got a good look at its premise and gameplay and a trailer, means that it was a great human showing all around as well. This is what EA's whole conference should have been. Instead, we got a show full of people talking about things without showing us much or anything, a show about the joy of subscriptions, and a show where the most hyped centerpiece turned out to look okay. It was a horrific train wreck and is the final and ultimate proof that EA needs to stop doing E3 pressers. They've had some bad ones over the last few years, don't get me wrong, but this was the worst one they've had yet. This is the worst conference I've ever seen, period. Even bad ones like Sony's E3 2006 or Konami's E3 2010 at least had something to laugh about. This was so bad there is literally nothing to feel anything about. You can't feel hyped, or disappointed, or angry, or even laugh at it. You can feel nothing, you just feel disengaged, apathetic. Truly the perfect show for a company like EA. That'll be it for this video. If you like what we're doing, please go ahead and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.